Welcome back, everyone, to the Hearthstone Global Games. My name is Dan Gaskin, joined once again by Lorinda, and we're going to bring you some Hearthstone action. Funnily enough, that is what we are paid to do. Yes, I know, Twitch chat, it's hard to believe we are paid to do this job.
You get paid?
Oh, sorry. Okay, Lorinda might not be. Just me, then. It's Brazil versus Portugal. As you can see by the flags either side of us, this is going to be a pretty exciting one. Let's take a look at the group that they are residing in, though, and see how everything is going to play out. We haven't had a match in Group A yet. We've got Brazil, Portugal, Chile, and Spain.
Yeah, and it's looking like yet another great group. I think all of these teams are capable. I know Portugal wanted to sort of prove their point last year and didn't get much done. Chile managed to get it done 2 years running, I think, getting to fairly deep stages.
Yeah, you've got to try and perform well in these global games to try and show off for your country, get them cheering for you in Twitch chat, get a little bit of extra revenue behind you as well, because if you are cheering in Twitch chat, I believe some of it does go to the players, so you are supporting your favourite streamers and players. But Brazil versus Portugal in general, we will take a look at the teams and see who is on both sides. What's your kind of feelings for both of these teams?
I think the Zuka, Lazy A, and the Viper 94 have got the best job in the world.
What's
they
that?
Get to work with Dr. Boom.
I knew you were going to go there. On the other side, Raze, Perna, Lucas, and Neves. You've got two decent squads here that I'm sure will be desperate to get to BlizzCon.
Yeah, and Brazil unbeaten in the groups, and no surprise looking at that lineup. They've got a lot of tour stock top 16s behind them this time around, and Portugal actually, as a team, have got one of the worst tour stop records. Like when you add all the results together, they've had bad tour stop results, but they've been getting it done in this. So presumably their communication's been good, they've been putting in the time, etc. in this event. Of course, their play has been good. I specifically remember that game where New Zealand had the Shudderwalk sort of accident?
Yes.
Portugal, had they not played really well in that game, would still have lost.
Oh, wow, yeah.
So the point being that so it got overlooked in the fact that there was this thing happening on the other side of the board, but actually Portugal played to their outs really, really well in that match.
So what you're saying is Portugal have had bad tour stops, so they're due a good win here today. Is that what you're saying?
I don't know if it works. I just think they've been playing well to get this far as a team.
You're so easy to wind up. I knew it was going to.
You can't wind me up.
I knew it was going to get right under your skin.
You can't wind me up.
That's threatening. Let's take a look at the bans then from both of these teams. We will see Rogue taken away from both sides. That does seem to be pretty common when Quest Rogues are in play. And
even more so with these lineups. As you'll see, the Priests, Dan, were snaffled first pick. Any idea why that might be? Is there any tech, maybe?
The Priests both have Archbishop Antonidas.
Archbishop Antonidas.
Oh my god.
Steal your opponent's deck and hit them with fireballs all at once.
They both have the Archbishop in. They are both going to be trying to beat those control decks. So just taking away a Quest Rogue, which would not be a good matchup for that Priest.
And with that in mind, you can probably envisage what sort of matchup this is going to be. Why is it always us?
Yeah, we were a little bit scared when we saw Benedictus was in some of these Priest lineups. Thankfully, it's not Priest versus Priest. However, we are going to be kicking it off with Odd Warrior versus Control Priest. Lorinda.
We saw that game yesterday. Thanks, Tyler, again. And it went a long, long time with very little chance for the Netherlands Priest to get it done. However, they didn't have...
Antonidas.
I'm not going to do it to you.
They didn't have Benedictus.
They didn't.
That, I imagine, is one of the sole reasons why we do see this tech decision. Interesting, it's for both sides. They've both put Benedictus in as well.
We've barely seen it in the whole tournament. Suddenly both teams are like, yeah, let's do this. Make sure if there's a spy in the camp somewhere. Oh my goodness, the Viper's getting excitable already.
And you'd have to imagine that Benedictus does give the Priest a shot in this game. I would have to think if you get Benedictus, you just play it instantly to get as much value as possible.
Yeah.
Steal all of those warrior cards. You really want to be finding things like Dr. Boom for sure.
Yeah.
Because in a fatigue race, you are going to have way more cards, and in theory, you should win that, despite the fact that the Odd Warrior is going to have so much armor gain.
And even though Dr. Boom makes good value, the Priest probably can cope with a lot of that value for quite a long time. But at some point, Psychic Scream is going to happen, and then I don't know what happens after that.
I mean, it's not a particularly common match that we've seen a lot. We haven't seen it yet in the Global Games. Benedictus, I think this will be his first real appearance on the Global Games floor. And I wonder whether that is going to be something that they're looking for in their mulligan here, or whether they feel like they can just wait this game out and eventually find Benedictus.
And just to point out, it is still the regular Mind Blast control priest, so you can just win.
Well, how?
By Mind Blasting them.
Yeah.
After Alex Strasing and hoping. So the way that you normally go about this matchup, again, without the Benedictus, which changes everything, is you try and keep the armor under control, play an Alex, and shootify them really quickly with your Mind Blasts.
Shootify?
Yeah.
Okay, stop. Why do you make up words? There he is.
Because normal words are boring.
There is...
Have you heard your words?
Whoa!
I make words up because they're fun.
Whoa! Well, I mean...
I experiment on words with Dr. Boom.
You can be the judge of that, I'm sure. But there is Benedictus. There is a chance on turn 7 that the priest can just play it and start stealing all of the good stuff from Lucas. And I wonder whether this changes the game plan ever so slightly for Brazil, where now they know that Benedictus is in the deck. Do they have to get a little bit more aggressive? Because it's not as simple as just going on the defensive here.
I mean, getting that damage through, yeah, I mean, we saw yesterday there were ways the Warrior could have won the game differently. They just chose never to lose. But this time around, maybe they could go for it. What's he doing here?
I don't know, I just saw a cheeky Darrock Brown just popped up next to our desk and gave us a hearty smile.
The other interesting question that will come up is how many cards can the priest deck afford to draw?
Yeah, because fatigue is their game plan. Fatigue is 100% their game plan, but because they're going to be stealing, I don't know, let's say 18 cards from their opponent.
Yeah, that looks quite a likely number because 25 minus 7 is 18. Your maths is better today.
Skulking Geist is also going to help with... Wait, what do you mean today? You're saying my maths isn't good on other days?
Depends on the day.
Skulking Geist is going to help out with that fatigue plan, destroying quite a lot of significant cards for Lucas.
However, if you're going to steal those cards...
Yeah, that's true.
But, I mean, the Warrior deck will be more condensed. I think the Priest will just durdle along after it gets the Antonidas into play. Oh, I give up. You've got me
Did
at
you
it
just
now.
say Antonidas?
Yes!
Haha! I have fooled you with my idiocy. You are also a nincompoop, just like me.
And obviously the discussion's going on about how many cards are we going to draw, if any, deciding not to. And that's setting their stall out for a nice little camp.
And naturally you would look at yesterday's comparison with the Netherlands playing this priest game against the Warrior and saying, alright, it was pretty slow, it was pretty drawn out, took quite a while. However, the Warrior in that game was more than happy to sit back, armor up, wait, remove. I don't feel like they have that same time here. I feel like they might have to try and get on the aggressive, try and find some significant minions from Stonehill Defender, for example. Try and get some big chunky boys onto the board to force something out of the priest instead. It's a weird change of events that just one card has just blown this matchup completely open.
Yeah, it's very interesting. It's not like spectacularly thrilling, but it is going to be interesting. The players are going to have to actually sort of stay on their toes, whereas yesterday I think we all knew where that was headed quite early. This one, they're going to be making it up as they go along to some extent. Now, normally I'd say that Portugal would have a bit of an extra edge because they've got the Benedictus in their deck. We're going to be saying Antonidas all day now, aren't we? And so they know the matchup better.
Yep.
But we know that Brazil brought the exact same lineup, the exact same deck.
And
so they also know this matchup.
It does make sense. I mean, if you look at Odd Warrior throwing like Azalina into the equation, and actually, can you just double check and see if Brazil have Azalina in their Odd Warrior deck, because maybe that makes this matchup even more interesting. The reason why Azalina is put in an Odd Warrior deck is to try and give their unwinnable, and I say that with air quotes, matchups a little bit better. For example, Quest Rogue.
They do.
Whereas the Priest, they're putting Benedictus in their deck to say, all right, let's give us a chance in our unwinnable matchup.
So if the Azalina gets drawn, and they manage to Azalina the Benedictus. Ladies and gentlemen.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are here.
The timer will be started.
Oh yeah, wait, 1 hour and 3 minutes is our current record for longest game in the global games. I haven't started the timer, but I'm sure production will be well aware of how long it has gone on, as the Sauronite Chain Gang would say.
But at the moment there is no Azalina in hand, and also they may just coin out Benedictus to stop that from even happening.
Yes, and...
Because if he gets Azalina'd, I'm going.
Oh, please don't. Please don't leave me to solo.
I'll come back
cast.
in an hour to do the second half of the game.
All right,
with you.
that's a deal. You can take it in breaks. Go for a little nap.
I actually wouldn't mind seeing it. It'd be quite amusing.
This is true. But you've got to look at the large minions that are available for Brazil already. As Alina is drawn, Lich King is big and scary and is a minion that could pose a threat to Portugal. Oh, but I can see the sweat is already dripping from Lorinda's forehead, and I know that's usually quite often anyway, but there is more so than usual today.
Don't play the coin, don't play the coin, don't play the coin, don't play the coin. Coin Benedictus, coin Benedictus. This could get amusing in a hurry.
But surely you don't just play. Yeah, the thing is, we're saying it could get amusing, and yes, quite rightly, it could get amusing. There is no way, Jose, you are playing Azalina on 7 if you are Brazil.
Look at their hand.
You are not playing it before Lich King. No way. Not in a... Oh, they're going to, aren't they?
Because otherwise, when do you catch Benedictus?
Do you feel like you need to catch Benedictus to win? If you feel like you need to catch Benedictus to win, then sure, you're going for it. It's one of those...
I mean, we talk about it as if we think the priest can fatigue the warrior. If the warrior thinks that's the case, what better way to stop them from doing it than by catching Benedictus?
It's whether the warrior feels like they can win with minion pressure, like
with
Lich King
Collider
and with Dr. Boom.
Dynamatic. In for 3. Gotcha.
Maybe Portugal will coin out the Cabal Shadow Priest here, and that will give Brazil even more time.
I think Portugal are likely to just coin out the Benedictus. I'm having to be really careful with that word now, thanks.
Not to say Antonidas.
Yeah. Antonidas would be so good, though.
Can't just throw him into any deck. That's not how Hearthstone... Oh, well, I suppose you
Maybe
could.
he could become an Archbishop. In a future set. Like we had, Whispers where things sort of took a turn for the nasty. Maybe we could have
so instead everything turns good and becomes...
Everything turns into bishops and things, yeah. I mean, is he good?
Oh no, Archbishop
glowing
Benedictus
purple
is...
eyes.
He's an evil man. I mean, look what he does to a game.
Yeah.
He literally steals your entire deck. That is, you cannot say that as a good man.
At least Azalina only steals your hand. I like the way it's just going quieter and quieter as we're waiting for next turn to see if we're going to be here for an hour or 3 hours. Because I feel that also if the warrior does pilfer the Benedictus, then suddenly they've got a decent spot themselves because they can outlast on fatigue because their hero power is just better. They can prepare for fatigue by tanking up the whole game.
And I wonder...
And the priest can't go past 30.
I wonder if, let's say, Azalina does steal Benedictus, does it just nullify Benedictus overall? Because, never mind, we can stop talking about it.
They're playing around it. I mean, this is the point. They're playing around the Azalina. And now... Oh, you look so relieved, Dan. I was kind of half hoping it would happen, but...
Yeah, I was kind of half hoping it would.
Portugal have realised the danger here. And they now have a 40-card deck versus a 20-card deck. And as you were saying, this means that somehow Brazil need to get pressure on. And the best way to do that is going to be to get themselves a good old Dr. Boom.
But, as Dr. Boom hasn't been drawn, that means Portugal also now have Dr. Boom in their deck as well. So you'd have to say this probably favours the priest at this point.
They do have to do a lot of damage, but obviously a 20-card lead in fatigue can do that.
So I wonder whether Lucas and the rest of the boys would have done the math and feel like, why are we hovering over Benedictus? What? Production? Do I need to come back and give you a lesson? On Hearthstone cards. They're like, oh, we have not seen this played in a while. What does this do again?
It's called Start the Clock. So another thing that we were talking about when we were talking about how this match might work out is if Brazil can make wide enough boards, maybe they have to get Psychic Scream. This 19-card lead will diminish over time. Now it's an 18-card lead. Goodness. You okay?
I'm good.
He's good. And he's okay as well.
I'm wondering whether... Oh, Dr. Boom.
Dr. Boom.
Okay, so I'm wondering whether there is a way that Lucas can just armor up every single turn and still somehow be in the race of fatigue. I don't think it's possible because they're that far behind.
I feel like that gives you How much does it give you? Let's say it's 15 turns at 4. That's 60. That's quite a lot of fatigue, but is it? It's only 7 or 8 turns worth, and they're currently 19 turns behind.
Yeah.
Plus, realistically, if you're doing that every turn, you're probably not attacking. But they are just going to go for the hit your plan. Frostmourn's good at hitting people. Dr. Boom, number 2.
But the only way that Viper can actually deal with this Lich King looks to be Psychic Scream, unless you're just going to master spell and just say, all right, well, we'll leave an 8/8 on the board.
How much do you like your hero power? How much do you want a panic button hero power?
I don't like Dr. Boom on this turn.
Okay.
I don't think you leave up Lich King. I think his cards that he ejects out are, I think they're too scary. We've already seen that's a Frostmourne that can do 15 damage.
I mean, you'll have to deal with him later, but obviously you can. Eventually you'll have some dragons and stuff to go with your Acolyte that you haven't drawn yet and steal him. You've stolen everything else, you might as well steal Lich King as well.
If you draw them, you might just be drawing the rest of the warrior cards for however long.
They're good though.
Yeah, maybe, well...
Brawl away Dr. Boom.
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't want to do this, but also it's a fairly small board. Trading your guys first, probably. It's probably one of the discussions if they do it. Just to make sure that they can't have another decent-sized minion that Priest struggles with. So this is where we find out a bit about the plan for Brazil. Do they want to go for the tank up for 15 turns plan? Or do they want to play Dr. Boom and get some value out of this game? I mean, you've just seen them have to Psychic Scream Dr. Boom. Does that mean you can play Baku?
Interesting.
What now?
Yeah, maybe you can. But then you're not playing your tank up.
Because Baku's not ever going to be better than it is right now, and I think you've got a good indicator that you know that. Like for there's some value elements to this game still, and your Baku is just going to be poop, frankly.
Yeah.
Later on.
But right now, it does a job. Depending on what Viper actually draws.
Super Collider Eater. Yeah, and good identification there from Brazil of what's going on.
So it is interesting that this Shadow Visions can also find now some warrior spells as well.
I must consider.
But yeah, Dr. Boom is going to come into play as Viper starts to look for some answers and for a way to start generating some value in this matchup. This is the perfect way this matchup could have gone for Portugal. Benedictus on turn 6 and stealing Dr. Boom.
But they are getting boshed by this 7-5 for a couple of turns.
Yeah, thankfully they were able to gain the armor from Dr. Boom and they have the hero power as well. And Brazil are going to answer back with a Dr. Boom of their own, which means they are not thinking that it is even possible to be armoring up for 4 and actually outlasting this on fatigue, which I think was the conclusion we did come to.
Lucas, the pilot here for Brazil. He's studying civil engineering at uni. Don't know what that is, but it sounds clever.
It sounds nice, civil.
This is the only game he's ever played. Not this. He's not like just sat here in HGG and gone, I'm going to play my first game of Hearthstone. I mean,
Yeah, because I wouldn't want it to be Odd Warrior versus Priest. That wouldn't be my first choice.
Wouldn't get to rank 49 very quickly.
No. He's never played any other game than Hearthstone.
That's what he says.
Competitively,
Yeah,
I imagine.
I imagine so. Yeah, I mean, he's probably played like, I don't know,
Tetris
or something. But yeah. And his favourite card was Azure Drake. Do you know why?
Why?
It's because you only know what you love after you've lost it, and that's probably how he feels about this game of Hearthstone right now, with this deck being stolen from him.
Yeah.
He was one game away from reaching championships last year, but lost to Turay.
To who, sorry?
To Turay. Sorry.
To who, sorry?
Don't make me say 3 different ways. I don't like it when you tease me, Mr. Gaskin.
I would never tease you, Lorinda.
And he also obviously made it to Buenos Aires, top 12 earlier in the year as well. So Lucas, the guy we haven't talked much about over the weeks, mainly because he's on a team with such great players. But we've got time to talk about him now for an hour or two. He looks very tall, according to that webcam as well.
What? No, he doesn't.
Towering above the world.
Meanwhile, whilst you were rightly pointing out all of Lucas's successes and his failures, I guess, where he has fallen short, Viper was able to use that Shadow Visions to actually clear the board, which was pretty important because Baku was starting to get quite intimidating.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, control deck, minion.
Yeah, well, otherwise Baku could have just
ended
up winning the game.
But Brazil did get a bit of value out of that. If they're going to win this, they're going to need to get those pieces of damage where they find them.
This would be a good time for a master plan.
It would indeed. How are you going to use this Frostmourne? Are you going to try and get value out of it by killing 3 minions over the course of the game?
I think minion pressure is probably important. Because at the same time, if you can build up a board and you can make your opponent shuffle everything back in with Psychic Scream again, then you are reducing that fatigue difference.
All these weapons in hand. But this one's being played now because they want to get the Frostmourne activated. So playing the MCT, I mean, Portugal are never going to go wide anyway, but it is a little bit of a bait to go wide. And also playing the Super Collider is saying, hey, play your Gluttonous Ooze. Nothing to see here. No Frostmourne in our hand. You'll be fine. What could go wrong? Trying to get rid of the Ooze so that the Frostmourne might stick later on.
Yeah.
Till at least it's killed 1 minion. Like, come on, Frostmourne, you can do that.
But the Kaboom hero power does work out quite nicely here with Primordial Drake just to clear the board. And we are going to have a bit of an endless battle of 1 minion pressure, then removed, and then 1 minion pressure, and then removed, because there is just going to be so much removal in both of these decks right now.
Yeah, and it's
Portugal
mostly
definitely
AoE.
Yeah, most of it, yeah.
The difficult bit for Brazil is they'd love to have a big board Psychic Screen back into their deck, although even that might not save them, to be honest. Oh, and Portugal have sort of cotton on. They've worked this out. We know you're playing Super Collider. You got a Frostmourne from Dr. Boom, didn't you?
Well, Lucas can play a Fiery War Axe or another Super Collider if he would like to try and bait out this second Gluttonous Ooze.
That's quite smart, though. I like that. Because there's decent minions you can copy in this deck with Zola. Benedictus, for instance. Then you get Azalina, and you realise the terrible, terrible thing you did.
And I mean, we have to salute Portugal for being able to do that, right? For being able to recognise that actually, if they do have Azalina on 7, then that's a way they can stay in this game and win this game relatively comfortably, potentially.
That would have been... I'd actually quite enjoyed seeing that. I might not have told you that the next morning. Like, how was casting yesterday, Neil?
You mean the next morning when we started game number 2?
Yeah, exactly. After 19 ties.
Can I give you a fact yet? Are we at that point where I can start spouting out facts?
Are you asking me or Derek?
You.
Well, I think you can, yeah. Which team? I'll let you choose which team you can give us a fact about. If anything happens in the game, I'll let you know.
All right.
Nothing's happened.
We'll go Brazil.
Okay.
Brazil's an interesting one because in Brazil, if you get sent to prison, you have the chance to reduce your prison time by either A, reading a book,
okay,
and they reduce your prison time by 4 days per book that you read, or...
Have you got any small books?
I would imagine that the books are relatively similar, yeah.
Okay.
Are you just thinking children's books, aren't you?
Yeah, like...
Anything comfortable to read.
A to Z.
A to Z. Or you can pedal a bike that generates electricity. That's one way you can get out of a prison sentence as well.
You can get out of it much quicker if you pedal a bike that goes.
Not sure that's how prison works, Lorinda. Usually quite well protected.
Okay.
But it's nice that, I think.
Oh, that's actually a good
I like
scheme.
the book thing.
I do too.
Trying to encourage you to learn. So learn from your mistakes, and then you won't do it again, and you won't return back to being a
book
boy.
called Your Mistakes.
Yeah.
I don't think I want to read that book. I'll do the extra 4 days. First of all, it'd take me about 6 years to read it. I like that. That's one of your better facts, Dan.
Thank you very much.
And it sounds one of the most true as well. Nothing happened, by the way.
Well,
we had a turn.
A Lich King was drawn, and that is Lich King. Oh, Mechathune.
Oh no.
Okay. Okay.
I mean.
Well.
But.
Hop, hop. The only annoying thing is you have an Azalina in your hand.
Yeah, and you also no longer have a shield slam in your deck.
Well, it's not even that, because, like, in theory, your opponent's not going to do much this game. So you could just run out of everything.
But you can't get rid of the Azalina ever.
But you play your Azalina and then you lose your Mecha'thun, so you'd have to play Mecha'thun first, and then the odds of your opponent removing it is quite high.
But it is large.
Yeah, it is. It is large, and that's the way that Brazil are going to win this game, with big minions. They've got another Lich King, because the first one was from a Stonehill defender. That could generate another important card.
There's still the Twilight Acolyte, Cabal Shadow Priest. We should keep an eye on that, because at some point, obviously, that will steal a minion. That's what it's for. And Portugal need to be very, very greedy with that combo. Because they do only have 28 cards left.
Time for a master plan.
They've got another Ooze.
I mean, putting decks aside, who would you have originally? Not physically. Who would you have originally taking this, Brazil versus Portugal, in terms of like your player knowledge? And
Brazil by an absolute mile, unfortunately. Much as I like Zuka in particular for Portugal, and much as their players are pretty experienced, they have not had the best of results in this year. I hate to say, because I quite like a lot of the Portugal team.
Yeah.
And Brazil have just been rampaging through HCT and even playoffs and stuff like that. So Brazil are just one of the best teams in the world at this game at the moment.
Because it must be pretty frustrating being called Viper, but not being Viper. Isn't there 2 Vipers?
There's 94 Vipers.
He is the 94.
There's 3 Vipers.
3 Vipers now.
I think... I'm testing myself now. There's definitely another Viper in one of the teams.
Don't start. No, you don't need to. It's alright. It doesn't matter if you know or not, Narinda. But yes, there is another Viper, obviously.
There is. There were 3 Vipers. I remember that from my younger days.
When are we talking? 1845?
Snake Trap.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Viper Pro is the other one, I believe. And I haven't actually, you can see, didn't touch the things. So you could have been called the Viper 3, really.
Yeah. That would have been maybe more appropriate.
Big board means big primordial drakes. That's what I was taught at school.
Obliterate isn't particularly handy. I don't think the removal is going to be that important when you do have a wealth of removal already.
Unless you obliterate your own Mecha'thun on turn 212 after you've somehow got rid of your Azalina and the Mecha'thun stuck around on the board and you've still got obliterate. That doesn't work.
Yep.
Azalina, you mess things up. You make the game difficult. And again, not really doing well, Portugal, for removal, which is weird because they've got their removal deck and stolen somebody's removal deck and shuffled them all together.
They can do what you were saying earlier, though. Just Twilight Acolyte, Cabal Shadow
I don't
Priest
think
here.
they want to, though.
Do they not?
You
get a Lich King.
You do get a Lich King.
Although it was a bit annoying to do it on your delivery drone turn, because delivery drone is going to be important throughout the entirety of the rest of this game.
But again, as you correctly assessed at the start, it's all about Brazil trying to do the damage. They're already down to only 10 cards left, and they've done 8 damage. And at some point, there will be armor from the Boomster.
And looking at this matchup as a whole, this first game is extremely important.
It really is.
I know we talk about favourables and unfavourables and whatnot, but judging by how matchups should go, in theory, this goes to a game 5, where it's going to be back and forth wins. If every game was played perfectly to how decks should be played, this should go to a game 5, which would mean whoever wins this game here should win the series.
So if I've had enough of this Benedictus nonsense,
yes.
Can you tell us what game 2 is going to be instead?
Game 2 is going to be Control Priest versus Malygos Druid, which also has Benedictus in it.
Cool. Game 3?
Game 3 is going to be Death Rattle Hunter versus Meat Wagon Paladin.
Who's got the Meat Wagon Paladin?
That's Portugal.
Is that like Muzzy started developing that, then got bored and made Token Druid instead or something?
Yes, pretty much. It is probably paying homage to Muzzy's Meat Wagon Paladin. Game 4 would be Odd Paladin versus Control Warlock. And Game 5, should we need it, will be Shudderwock Shaman versus Odd Warrior. So, a lot of grindy matchups. No aggro decks at all to be seen apart from that Odd Paladin that is available for Brazil. So, clear strategy from both teams going into this group. Because remember, you do keep the same decks throughout the entirety of the group.
Right, so you do need a coherent strategy, not just for your first match, but also for the other two.
Yeah.
Have a look at the decks they didn't get to play, the ones that were banned away.
This is what they could have had.
Here's what you could have won. Quest Rogue. I think that would have been really good. That's what his first ban. What else was banned away? Brazil's Warlock was the second ban, so that's the control Warlock, wasn't it?
Yep.
Q-Block, I think, on their card? Yeah, Q-Block on Brazil's side. Then they lost their Druid, which was Togwaggle Druid. And then they lost their Mage, which is actually Face Mage, I think. So teams seem to have decided that Control Mage is just Gubbins.
I'm getting pretty bored of you saying the word gubbins.
Okay.
Can you say something else instead of gubbins?
Probably.
Is there any other words that means the same thing as gubbins, but... I don't know.
Might be.
It might be. Okay.
Might be.
You're just going to keep it as a surprise, are you?
Yeah.
You're not going to humour me right now?
Would I ever humour you? I humour you every time you say, Neil, would you like a fact?
This is true.
And I say yes every time.
And you know what, Lorinda? Thank you for bearing with me for these past 6 weeks or whatever it's been.
Fun times.
It has been
genuinely
very enjoyable.
Despite what chat sometimes think, I actually almost like you.
Yeah. It pains me to say it, but likewise.
So Portugal's decks that they didn't get to play, tell me if anything happens at all in the next couple of turns.
Sure. Omega Defender. It's just been picked. That's a 10-6.
Great.
12-6.
So, I mean, yeah, wow. Massive minion.
Yeah.
Yeah, great. They lost their Shaman, which was Shudderwock. And, again, they lost their Quest Rogue, they lost their Face Mage, and they lost... Don't break things, Dan. And they lost their Death Rattle Hunter, so their lineup wasn't quite as control-y. A couple of anti-control decks in there, which Brazil just took away from them. Like a sad Archbishop at Christmas.
Why would the Archbishop be sad at Christmas? Are you comparing him to the Grinch?
Yes.
Well, speaking
He
of...
just stole it.
Speaking of Christmas...
And I don't know these. I never ever check Dan's facts
This is
because it's like I would want to lead into them like that, but I've done it accidentally. Okay, tell us about Christmas.
Did you know the world's largest Santa Claus parade was in Porto, Portugal?
I didn't. And how large was it?
14,963 Santa Claus, Neil.
And who counted them?
I imagine the Guinness Book of World Records, probably.
What, Norris McWhirter went round. They went 1, 2, 3.
I imagine that's how it works. Maybe they did it like a
Santas,
turnstile or something like that. So every Santa goes through a turnstile, get someone to do it for you.
Why would that many people want to give everybody in the world presents? I didn't get 14,000 presents that year.
It's a lot of Santas. It's because they were busy breaking records, so they weren't flying around the world.
I got a broken record. That's about all I got. That's what I get when I comes with you.
But we did mention the group earlier, which does feature Chile and Spain as well.
Mm-hmm.
And we were talking about strategies. And certainly in the interviews we've had with players, they have discussed the fact that they had to analyse every team in the group just in case they face off against them. You can't just prepare for that first game.
It's weird, isn't it? Because your first game is super important. Just keep an eye on this Frostmourne and see if it manages to steal anything.
And something that is important as well here, I guess, is Diehorn, Hatchling and Zola.
Yeah, not necessarily so much because it's going to stop them from dying in fatigue because they're 17 cards behind. But it buys them extra time for Dr. Boom hero powers.
Yes.
Which will buy them more value, which means they keep alive longer. Maybe more time to assemble a threat.
And I'm wondering when this Azalina actually gets played. They've seen that one Lich King card has stayed in the hand of Portugal for quite some time, so they can probably assume that... Well, they can take a guess that maybe it's a Frostmourne as well.
Well, yeah, they probably could, actually. Or it's rubbish, like Army of the Dead. Yeah. But it's
Is Army of the Dead that rubbish here? When you're that far ahead with cards, like, it's not terrible.
That's fair. I like how Brazil have managed to keep making the board look terrifying. They can definitely win this game. You might have to faceless this.
Because you don't want to Psychic Scream it.
You know what you don't want to happen?
What?
Is both players to run out of cards and then faceless the Cthulhu and just bump them into each other.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. The only real way you actually have of dealing with this card right now is Psychic Scream.
Or faceless.
Yeah.
Because you've got the boom.
You have the charge, yeah, or the rush. Sorry.
Okay then.
Is it a waste?
I mean, yes and no. Is there that much else that's worth stealing? Yes. Is it going to happen anytime soon? Maybe not. But this is also tipping off Brazil again. I think they already know that Viper is low on answers.
And I know that Mechathune wasn't able to be used for any potential for lethal at the end of the game because of Azalina. However, if Azalina does get played and delivery drones do pop up, there is then the chance that maybe this game survives to a point where Brazil play every single card and they play Mechathune. It's very unlikely because a lot of these cards are high costing and you have to use things like Brawl, but it is something that Portugal need to be aware of and need to be tracking hands when these delivery drones come down.
Wish there's a card that, like, instead of the right-hand card gets burned, the left-hand card shuffles off the end of your hand. So the Azalina would just vanish and you draw your 10th card in hand. Rather than burn the new one. It would be rubbish. It would be a terrible game mechanic. But to have a card that you play at game one, turn one, like a quest or something. Game changer.
Getting a Lich King back isn't bad, and I tell you what, Zolaring that Lich King to get even more value seems pretty juicy as well.
Yeah, and Portugal down to 12. Okay, they've still got decent resources to hang in there. But suddenly, a minute ago I was saying, well, there's 10 turns to go and Brazil haven't got any value. Whilst I've been mainly talking about other things like the decks and Santa Claus and stuff, Brazil have managed to apply a lot of pressure.
Yeah, thanks to this Frostmourne that they picked up from their first Death Knight guy. Lich King.
What do you call it? There you go, there's some words.
There you go, that's another word for gubbins.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. I mean, there are tools to deal with this from Portugal, but one of those tools is just a Psychic Scream.
And they actually don't mind. Are they going to not mind giving... There's so many cards ahead, they're just going to fill the opposing deck with 1/1s. And Lucas's face is, I don't know if that's good or bad.
Well, I guess it's
I don't know if it's... Well, they're just on a 1/1.
It's bad in the fact that they're not going to be getting closer to that other Lich King.
Uh-huh.
But it does get them a little bit closer now to this Fatigue. That's only 8 card difference.
Yeah, throw in a couple of Matriarchs and
Yeah.
suddenly you're getting closer. But I think the Vibe was happy with that. It was obviously a decision they talked about for some turns. And here's Lich King number
4.
4?
4. But then how do they deal with this Lich King? You have a Twilight Acolyte, you can just swap with it, but then you're just allowing it to survive, giving your opponent another card. They've got a Death and Decay there. Ciliax is available to be plopped onto this Microbot to be used as a charge minion. Brazil are doing so well to pressure Portugal here. And this was my concern, that even with Benedictus, even though, yeah, the Fatigue plan, they're going to win, the value from Brazil that they've been able to find from this Lich King has just been able to get them pretty close to winning this game.
I mean, it can be dealt with. It's going to take a while. I mean, they're going to gain 7 armor this turn if they want, for instance. That basically shuts it down for a turn. Yeah,
they have double Divine Hymn, they have the armor. They've got a way to stall out this game, for sure. It's by no means over.
Primordial Drake's not too bad, but they're going for the Master Spell to try and draw something to shut down those cards. And this is one of the problems, it is still a Mind Blast deck. And they're just going to Acolyte it, so 2-card combo to shut it down.
And, I mean, you hit the nail on the head. It is still a Mind Blast deck. There is still a chance that you could draw into Shadow Reaper...
just trash.
Well, yeah, but you could get Shadow Reaper Anduin.
Yeah, okay.
You could get the Mind Blast. Your opponent's armor gain isn't going to be as significant as it was when it was the Odd Warrior. You might just be able to burst them down.
At least the Gubbins Maker. That's what she does.
This would be a good time for a master plan.
Do you reckon that the Vipers worked out, yeah, that Azalina's that left-hand card?
I mean, they'll have a good idea that
it's been there a long time.
Azalina is in their hand, I would have thought by now.
These Microbots have been better than usual. They're usually kind of, yeah. This Frostmourne, though, when it finishes off this Lich King over a couple of turns, with the Microbots next turn and Frostmourne, they're going to have a Lich King in their Frostmourne.
Yeah, just like Brazil did as well, and that's what has allowed Brazil to generate this pressure, but maybe Portugal can start to push out some of their own. But unfortunately, this Omega Defender is going to prove to be a little bit of a nuisance.
And I laughed at it, I must admit. Can they clear it with Pyromancer and... No, because they need like all sorts of Twitch chat amounts of mana, I think.
No, in theory they could. They
Oh
could
yeah, can. The
use
Microbots
3
is
Microbots.
there's 3 spells.
Yeah. But then they're leaving the Lich King up.
It's a 2/8
which
with
is
no
alright.
ability. It's fine.
And you can Shadow Visions as well to look for a spell. I mean, you could pick up a Brawl, which might not be important now, but might work out later.
Yeah.
A Reckless Flurry.
Yeah, which could...
They've
could
already
work
got
eventually.
one, but I imagine there is a second, potentially. You're going to have to forgive me. In terms of tracking decks, I'm not going to be that great in this matchup, if I'm
Oh,
honest.
come on, what did you know what 20 remaining cards there are in this? Yeah.
But yeah, Viper is going to go down the route of using this Pyromancer to clear. Of course, you have to do it in the correct order. You want to be making sure you're using Divine Hymn to heal back up your Pyromancer, because otherwise the Pyromancer dies before it does its job. Mind Blast is good, though.
They're happy taking the shield block. This is going to get reasonably close on fatigue numbers. But the board is cleared yet again. And the resources are hanging there. They're taking the shield block because they just want cards. They didn't think Brawl was good enough.
Yeah, they are running out of resources. Their hand looks pretty poor. Because if Lucas does keep throwing big minion after big minion, now Viper is officially out of answers.
Is there official stats for that? Like,
Yes.
You?
In terms of answers, they're not really there.
I also want to know, if this game goes for another 20 or 30 minutes,
Uh-huh.
how's Viper going to keep up this energy level?
This jungle
He's been the most animated player pretty much of the entire Hearthstone Global games, and I fear for him, frankly.
Well, at least he's drinking water. He is well hydrated.
Yeah, that's
I
good.
think, like, memes aside, genuinely, as a Hearthstone player, drink a lot of water.
It does help.
Good for the brain. Well, finally, Viper is going to be able to use this Frostmourne to get a Lich King a little bit later on.
Yeah, may have to deal with Elise first. Just because it's bigger.
Yep.
Yeah, Viper is well into this. So he should be. Chance to go to BlizzCon on the line.
This is a game that is just, if you don't have Archbishop and, oh my god, Benedictus, you just lose. This isn't really a winnable game. We saw that with Netherlands, we saw that with Tyler yesterday. But Benedictus has given them a win condition. Why not get excited? If they've analysed these matchups as I have, as we have, then they will know how important this game one is.
Yeah, and of course they have. I mean, we're seeing teams tweet out, we think we have a 47.29816%. I think they go a little bit far sometimes, those decimal places.
Just a tad.
But that's our estimate. It's like, well, can't you just estimate it as 47?
Ooh. Dinomatic is available for Brazil, and they could just kill off their own Lich King here.
Seems decent.
I think I like it.
Thing is, though, if you kill your own Lich King, I think that's the correct thing. Do you just win, or do you just lose less? Is it really winning if you're blowing up your own king? I think it probably is. They're going to do it. Good spot. Because you can't let Portugal off the hook. They are definitely struggling on removal, and the Lich King just has too many good things it can do.
Oh, they're not going to in the end.
It's definitely worthy of consideration. I think I'd have liked it, but now they can just nick it. They've used both of the Acolytes. Yes, they have. Excuse me, again, my hand tracking is also going to be slightly off, but they have used them both. Now, are they ever going to get a better target than this for the Shadow Priest?
There is a Faceless available still for Lucas, so maybe there's a reason for leaving this Lich King and allowing them to summon a Lich King, because you can say, all right, well, we can just then Faceless your Lich King and remove your Lich King, and we get another Lich King that way.
There's also, obviously, the Frostmourne thing, get a real Lich King. And there's also generated cards going to be happening. So maybe they just want to save it for that. I don't know what they want to steal, but whenever I say something like that, something always comes up to just show, so this, be silly, caster.
Viper was praying then going into that Stonehill Defender, really looking for something significant.
Yeah. Isn't
Looking for some
Etten
beefy
significant?
minions.
It's kind of significant.
Yeah, I mean, it's big enough.
Because they don't really want synergy. If you wanted synergy, you wouldn't play Benedictus on turn 6. Because that's like the most anti-synergetic card ever, other than synergetic with running your opponent out of things.
This would be a good time for a master
It
plan.
would indeed. I like that voice line. So master plan time for Lucas.
Oh,
And he has finally run out of particularly exciting minions. Now he's down to the nitty-gritty.
Yeah, he's used all his big guys, right? He's had his Lich King, his Omega Defender has popped out, he's Zolaed back the Lich King, like another Lich King, but somehow Portugal have still been able to survive that. However, there is another Lich King, as far as I'm aware, still in Brazil's deck. And now Portugal, though, can get a Lich King of their own. This Frostmourne can be killed off.
And presumably it will. They'll get 3 minions back. Brawls and Reckless Flows and things can deal with them, but obviously another Lich King card's a big deal.